Hey guys, it's Ashley and Brayden here with Utah Trikes, and today we got something totally new.
Dude, I'm super stoked. It's always fun when we come out here and film with the motorized trikes, but this one specifically, it's chainless.
Yeah, motor, no chain, the brand new ICE Pers Cixi system, completely motorized, pedal generator on the front, and again, no chain, guys. Let's get out there and ride.
Let's go spin.
It is nice to be back on the road. We've got two fantastic trikes from ICE. The ICE Adventure HD full suspension.
I've always called these the Cadillac in the recumbent trike world. They're so comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, these are so smooth to ride, totally adjustable. ICE makes an absolutely fantastic trike. You know, we've got two high-end examples here.
Right.
We're gonna be talking about this new Pers system, but I will mention, you know, you're on the HD here with the 14 speed.
Not that mine isn't fancy. We've got a single by 14 speed internally geared roll-off on the back.
Yeah.
With a chain, which is weird. It's funny to hear that I have to specify that because yours is special. No chain.
Yeah, and that's what we're really here to talk about today. We've got this new chainless system. There's so much to say about this. I think we're going to be doing a lot of videos over this system here in the next several weeks because there's so much to talk about. The crazy thing is right now, I'm pedaling, there's no chain, and it feels like I'm pedaling. I'm getting a workout. I'm in this lowest mode here, and we'll talk about these different modes later. I'm pedaling, and my pedaling is making the motor in the back push me.
It's through an electrical wire.
You know, the way that this works at a fundamental level here is it's got a 250 watt motor in the rear that puts out about 75 Newton meters of torque. Instead of being a mid-drive motor, like what we normally have up front that then runs through the gears, it's a hub motor. Most hub motors, if they're put on a bike or trike, are going to have the standard gear drivetrain,
Right?
and they're going to be kind of last in the whole drivetrain. In this case here, there's no other gears, so it's all electric. And that's what's really cool about this is my pedaling is actually generating power.
Well, they have artificial gears almost
There's all these different settings that we can do
to mimic and replicate a
yeah,
gearing
to really
setup.
kind of feel like I'm pedaling.
And you know, the coolest thing, you know, about all that really is to say less maintenance by like a lot. There's no derailleur, no chain, I mean, the benefits of not having a chain when you really like start thinking about it, you know, there's so many subtleties.
Yeah.
You just don't have to worry about it anymore.
You know, when we first started riding here was just adjusting the booms out.
Yeah.
There's no chain here. So to adjust the boom for the length of the rider, you just slide the boom in or out, and that's it.
You don't have to worry about any of the chain misaligning or needing to be adjusting for the right tension.
Right.
There's no chain. Less maintenance in the year where I'm oiling, waxing, cleaning. There's no chain guard.
Yeah.
There's no pants getting caught in my chain.
There's no shifter cables that need adjusting. So as far as the pedaling experience, right now, I'm in this lowest mode. There's 5 modes. This lowest mode, I believe it's called muscular.
Okay, that's what you'll be after riding in muscular.
And you know, again, it really, really feels like I'm pedaling, like I'm the one doing the work. What they've got in the front here in this Cixi system here, so I'm pedaling a generator. It also has a torque sensor. So it's a combination of resistance applied by the generator that's applying the power to the rear wheel via battery. And then also that torque sensor sensing how hard I'm pushing, that applies a resistance, which can then generate more power. And so I have what looks kind of like a gear sensor here on the right side. And when I increase this up or down, I've got the ability to change my resistance so it feels like I'm in different gears.
Really?
So when I push this over higher, it actually makes it harder to pedal.
Harder. It'd be
So
like shifting.
So I assume that when I'm doing that, it's actually putting more load on the generator and I'm actually generating more power.
Now you keep saying generating more power. Are you claiming that this is recharging the battery?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. It's a 250 watt motor and there is a battery.
Yeah.
So it is an electric trike. Does not have a throttle though. And it only moves when I'm pedaling. So that could all happen with just having a torque sensor. And we built something like that in the past,
right?
Where you're pedaling and it's just triggering the motor to go. The difference with this setup here though is as I'm pedaling, I'm actually generating power that's going into the battery to keep it charged.
So it should never die, maybe.
Well,
we said earlier it's a 250 watt motor system, and I've had experience on some of the 250 watts, and I know they're not always the most torquey to climb hills.
That I think is probably gonna be the biggest concern that a lot of people have is, can I climb the hill with this?
We're gonna find out,
It's
man.
250, so we're going on our favorite hill right now, and I'm still in this muscular mode.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna trigger it to a higher mode when I get about halfway up, because I want to see what that does. But you know, right now, it's kind of weird because right now, it does not feel any harder climbing the hill than it did when we were on the flats. But it still feels like I'm climbing.
Well, I can feel it in your speech.
Yeah.
Know? Yeah, we're on a hill.
I definitely can feel a little more resistance. So now I'm bumping this up. So now I'm in 3, and
oh, no.
and now it's, you know, now I'm kind of spurting ahead. If I put this into mode 5,
there you go, man.
You know,
you're off.
This just really goes now. I mean, I gotta say for
not only a 250 watt, but a gearless.
Yeah,
watt.
and that's what's crazy, you know, the perception that's out there, you know, is how much power you need to climb. I've been on a lot of motor systems. Some of those motor systems that are 250 watts, they feel pretty weak.
Yeah.
And
they can feel gutless at times.
You know, we do a lot of trikes with 750 watt and 1000 watt mid drives. Of course, they'll climb any hill you want.
Right.
The idea sometimes is you gotta have more power to climb hills. Our favorite hill here is kind of a small hill, and it climbed that no problem. You know, one of the next videos, we're really gonna be putting this through some climbing torture tests. And we really need to see how much of a hill can this climb.
Where does it tap out? Because I don't think we were close on that hill.
For a long hill and for a steep hill, how well is it gonna do?
Because I think that hill we go up, for most riders in their everyday commute, that's what they're dealing with.
Yeah, yeah.
And it did just fine.
It beat the roll off.
It beat my roll off.
And, you know, got me up the hill a little bit faster. Definitely easier in that high speed mode.
Sure.
Most electric trikes are gonna do that. And they're gonna get you up. However much effort you wanna put into climbing, you can with an electric trike.
Well, you know, how much effort you wanna put in has always been my, because you get that sentiment all the time. Well, I don't wanna cheat. I don't wanna have a motor and cheat. Cheating's, and you've proven it, you know? If I'm in muscular mode, I'm not cheating.
Right, yeah.
Like, I actually think that you're pushing harder than I was when we first started than the roll-off in its easiest gear.
I could definitely feel that. As we're coming up the crest, we're gonna go down the hill, and that's another exciting feature of this system is that it has regen braking.
Yeah.
It's a really cool implementation. When I pedal backwards as I'm going forward, it will actually kind of stop the front pedals and engage the braking.
Engage like an internal braking almost.
Yeah, so even right now, as I am kicking back, my front pedals here, you can see, like they won't go back anymore. Like they feel like they're stopped.
Well, I can hear the motor
and
slowing
then you
down.
can feel the motor, and the motor right now is applying drag, and it's actually recharging the battery. in the back. So
you're actually gaining.
Yeah, so right
more
now
range.
I'm gaining some of that power back, you know, and I'm still going. So here's the crazy thing is we're going down our hill. I'm still going, I was going 17, now I'm going, you know, about 12, and now it's actually stopping me.
Now you're
And, you know, but it's charging the battery as we go, so I can now recoup some of that moving energy. That's gonna give me more range ultimately. One of the big concerns with every electric trike that we build is what's the range? Because the guy that gets an electric trike, he wants to be able to go however far he wants to go and doesn't want to get stuck.
right.
What happens when I run out of battery? You know, what happens when I can't go any further?
If I'm relying on the motor and my
Right.
gears and the motor dies, now I don't have that safety net anymore.
You know, as we have seen people over the past few years, they've transitioned from a triple in the front and maybe 10 gears in the back. Now we're going with mid-drive motors up front. And we have people that get concerned about, well, I'm losing 3 gears
Right.
up front. So what happens if my battery dies? Can I still climb the hill? You know, and that's a valid concern because you're giving up gear range. On a trike like this, what happens? All I have is my motor and my battery,
Yep.
and I'm pedaling here. We are going to be testing this. I think you actually volunteered, so you're going to be doing a ride until it dies setup here, because that's one thing we really do want to see. You know, is what happens. So right now, as we're pedaling, and if the battery started dying, basically it's going to stop giving me the higher modes first. So at some point it would say, hey, you can't go what they call their dynamite mode.
Right.
You can't go dynamite now. You've got to go to the slower mode. And then as it loses power, pretty soon it'll go, okay, all you have now is muscular mode. And the idea there is all the power that I'm generating is now going to go directly into that back wheel.
Well, that's the, you know, dynamite mode's going to drain your battery
Right.
a lot quicker. And then once it throws itself in muscular, it's a little bit more self-sustaining.
Right.
How self-sustaining, I don't know. I volunteered to kill a battery that may never be killed.
Yeah, and like I've been keeping this in muscular mode here as we get to the bottom, and I can see right now the sun's kind of in my display, so I can't. I can see how fast we're going, but I can't really see what my battery levels are. I want to take a look at that and
so I was
see, you know, we started out at 100%.
Well, I'm mentally planning my expedition of killing the battery. It just means I'll be running it in dynamite mode until it can't.
Well, and I think that's what we want to know. You know, ride this thing as fast as it can go, and then what happens as the battery starts dropping down into those different levels. So I gotta say, first and foremost here, how utterly impressed I am with the pedaling feel.
It's, you know, I have some experience on this, so I'm a little familiar, but that was my concern. You go from such a chainless and it's instant. I pedal, the chain moves, it turns my back wheel. There's no question about it. Some of the motor systems though, you pedal and there's a delay. There's like a little something that it just doesn't catch like a chain would. And that's always my fear, and that's my biggest fear with this motor system.
If I'm stopped right now, and as soon as I start moving these pedals forward, like it is solid and it just feels like I'm pedaling. So as I'm moving my feet, it's moving.
System's keeping up, right.
It does not feel like it's just I'm pressing a throttle or a motor or anything like that. It literally feels like as if I had a chain. Okay, and so so here's the cool thing, when we're moving forward and when I pedal backwards, it locks and it engages that regen brake. So and it's solid. Like it feels like, you know, when you were a kid and you have a kickback brake on your bike, and how it kind of like locks and you can like lean into it and it basically is engaging that rear brake. When I'm already stopped on this though and I'm pedaling backwards, I have reversed.
Look at you go. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
that is probably one of the
You gotta
coolest
move
features.
backwards.
So when I pedal forward, it goes normal. Then when I kick back and I'm stopped, I have reverse.
Look at that.
And any geared bike with the chain, it's gonna have a freewheel
Well, yeah, it can't.
mechanism.
There's
So like
nothing.
you're right there, you're pedaling, and it
Yeah.
doesn't do anything. I'm pedaling backwards, and I'm going backwards.
And it's got to
Like,
have that free wheel. Otherwise, when I roll down, my feet are just gonna.
right. We did our first loop here. I'm gonna look here now at my. Okay, so right now we used 4% of the battery. So
Alright.
in one loop, we use 4% of the battery. If we compare that with, last time we did the loop, we were on the Bosch, the Bosch active line setup, and starting out with 100%, and then you do the same loop. And if we're in the high performance mode, and that is with gears and everything, we're probably about the same. So we're probably right around 5-6%. We'll have to do a more accurate comparison, where we actually take a mid-drive equipped setup with gears and compare it with, the battery setup here. But, 4% is what I've used right now, pretty good. I mean, I will say here, first and foremost though, how pleasant this is to ride. It's absolutely, as a pedal power rider, every time we get on something with a motor, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot different. And a lot of times when you get on trikes with motors, you feel like the motor is doing most of the work, or, even on a good torque-based setup, you still feel like the motor is essential once you put the motor into the system. This setup here, I don't feel the motor. Like, it feels like I am the one pedaling, I am the one doing the work. And that's amazing. That really
They
is.
pulled something special.
That
here.
really is. You had the opportunity to actually take this out, and you rode it with Phil from ICE the other day. And I think you guys did the same loop. Go ahead though. Let's swap. And
I don't want to wait any longer. I had a lot of fun that first
yeah,
ride, and I want to do
swap
it again.
and let's get back on. The very first thing now, when I get on this trike, is I make sure, okay, what gear am I in?
Thank goodness we're in the roll-off. You can do that.
Store it off. Yeah, you kind of.
Otherwise, I would have made it really hard on you.
We're gonna be climbing that hill. Right off the bat here, you're a bit taller than I am, and you set this trike up for you.
I had it really long.
And we didn't bring any tools
Sorry
with us
for making you reach.
So yeah, I'm a little bit longer.
In my defense, I did tell you to sit on it before
I am
we
kind
left.
of stretched out a little bit. First impressions right now, getting off of that trike and then getting on this trike with the roll off, the pedaling experience doesn't feel any different.
No, and I in my last time riding this, I didn't use this cadence switch, or the gear shift almost, as much as I should have. And that really does let you fine tune the pedaling experience that you want.
I've got gears. Now, this is one thing where I could definitely feel the difference. It definitely feels harder to pedal right now than it did on that.
Did it on this one?
Yeah, so with the Cixi system, I didn't really feel like it was harder to pedal from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And this,
you're starting to feel it.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I guess that's the nicest thing. I kept this in muscular the whole way.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see if I could feel that burn. And I do. I'm running out of breath here. I know that at any moment I could have turned this up.
Yeah.
And taken off. I more just did that because I wanted to know if it could.
Yeah. So when we were climbing, I was in 6th gear with the roll-off, especially when you have a brand new roll-off. Just like most gear systems, when you're climbing and when you have to downshift, you gotta let off the pedals. I didn't really want to do that because then you lose momentum, I kept it in a higher gear than what I should have. And
I was watching you, I was wondering why you weren't shifting.
No, and I thought about that, like I could have shifted into a lower gear and it would have made it easier to pedal, but it also would have made me go slower.
Now, It's funny you're talking about shifting into a gear to change your pedaling.
Yeah.
I was pressing these cadence switchers the whole time.
Yeah.
We started that hill, and I don't have to worry about things like tension or whether or not the chain's moving. There is none of that. So changing my cadence to pedal, if I want my legs to move fast,
Yeah.
I'll just do that. And it feels like a chain setup.
Right.
In the way that I can shift through everything.
Right now, you know, to kind of match the cadence that I want to have and the effort as the slope of the hill's changing, I'm shifting gears. And I feel like that experience is very comparable to what I was feeling here.
Right, right.
The virtual gears on that Cixi system, you know, feel very smooth. There's no distinct like clicks. There's no like lurches. You know, it just feels all very smooth. But it feels very, very analog.
Yeah.
Like it feels like you're actually doing the pedaling, which is amazing.
This is gonna sound crazy, and this will now be on video, it'll be on YouTube, so you guys can call me out, but this feels like the switch from manual cars to automatic.
Yeah.
Like I feel as though this system will, one, become more common through the bike and trike industry, but this will be the future of motor trikes and bikes.
That's really where I was kind of hoping that our conversation was gonna go today. I've been thinking about it a lot. You know, I started Utah Trikes 20 years ago. When we started building trikes for people, the biggest demographic of riders were people that were into cycling and they wanted something more stable. Having lightweight trikes and good gearing and everything was always very critical. And we've seen the move over the past 20 years to really put motors at the front of everything.
Yep.
You know, with nearly 90% of every trike that we sell at this point has a motor. You know, we recently talked with some of the other trike manufacturers, you know, and they were coming back to us with numbers like, you know, 75% of the trikes that they're putting out have motors. You know, so we're seeing people are making this move to e-bikes, to e-trikes. They want the motor.
Yep.
And we've talked about that before. The motor is that great equalizer. It lets you ride with other people. It lets you commute. It lets you tackle hills. You know, all those things. And now I feel like this is the next step in the evolution.
Right. You took the word. I was just thinking evolution. This is the next step. I'm glad that it's finally here. I've got to say.
Wait.
Oh, hey, look, guys, a problem with the chain.
It's kind of funny because, like, as we were, you know, it's funny because as we were pedaling, my pant leg got caught in the chain and just bumped the chain
Not
off,
staged.
you know, and, yeah. And I was thinking, as soon as that happened, I was thinking, you know, that's something I'll just edit out.
That's really funny.
I was thinking, I was gonna say, hey, start over again, but I'm gonna leave this in because this is exactly one of those things that,
you know, and
not having a chain, not having a gear, that's just something you wouldn't have to worry about. Yeah.
No one's gonna believe that. That's really funny.
Right.
That's
what you get for wearing jeans while you're
maybe
riding.
you tried shortening the boom on me. We said it was too long, and that's why the chain's popping off.
I'm wearing my bell bottoms today. They keep getting caught.
I didn't use this last time, and it's almost all I'm using this time. This, I think it's the equivalent of a high gear. Like, oh, that's really high.
Yeah.
You know, that I really have to want to pedal to push that wheel. The cool thing about this system, no matter what speed I'm going, it's always the same effort.
Right.
You know, I'm always pushing the same. No matter the speed we're going, we were going down the hill, and I'm clearly going faster. My legs were having to put the same effort because the generator and the motor are still requiring the same torque that needs to be applied to the pedals. Yeah. And that can all be changed through this system here. And I can make it easier
through those virtual gears.
Speed and effort required stays the same.
One thing to mention here, and I did notice it while I was riding the Pers Cixi system, and now I'm noticing even more as I'm sitting next to you, is the noise.
There's a hum.
So over the years, I've had a lot of roll-offs, and the straight cut gears of the roll-off are one of my favorite sounds. And that's one thing though, where I've had people over the years, they go, man, my trike makes noise. And you're like, yeah, that's the sound of German engineering right there. And I love that sound. And it's funny because I don't hear that, because all I'm really hearing is the noise of that.
It is a noisy hub.
Of that front pedal crank setup.
And I've noticed the level of cadence, and you probably, that's why you're bringing it up. If I go into those easier,
yeah,
you can hear it hum.
Yeah, I think it's...
And it's funny because, to each is their own, right? We have plenty of people that love the sound of the roll-off, like that ticking.
Yeah.
When you stop pedaling, I love it. I know some people that don't. I feel the same about the motor. I like the hum.
Yeah, it is interesting though, because on other like mid-drive setups, that's one of those concerns that does come up a lot is you know, how quiet is it? And we found like systems like the Bosch and the Bafang are nearly silent.
Right,
all you
very
hear
quiet.
Is the chain. You don't hear the motor. And so it is kind of wild to hear. You hear
this is the noisy
noise.
one. You know, this
Yeah.
I do hear it. And it's the generator.
Yeah,
I'm hearing the generator. I'm not hearing the motor.
So I don't mind it. I actually think it's really cool, and it lets me know, hey, that's the sound of me making electricity.
That's me making power.
Yeah, you know. But just be aware that is out there.
It'll be something we need to tell people
Yeah.
before they get their new chainless setup.
You know, getting back to the idea of this chainless drive being the future of cycling.
Yeah.
So I will say this. So ever since we have been putting motors on trikes and quads, people have been asking us, can I have a pedal generator? Can I do that? You know, and the answer usually has been the amount of power that you can generate probably isn't really worth it. And a lot of that has to do with efficiency, losses, and everything else. Been trying to research all of this and figure out what the efficiency numbers are. The numbers I've seen are as high as about 75%. So maybe 75% of your pedaling power is actually getting to that back wheel.
Right, but then how much does that equate to in range? Because that's what's important. Frankly, calculating range is already kind of a hopeless adventure.
Right.
You know, you get approximations.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to be the big test is, you know, what happens when we run out of battery on this? Can you still go?
Right.
You know, and if the answer is yes, if no matter what, you can still get home, even if your battery's dead, then I don't really think there's a lot of concern. You know, maybe you can't get home at 20 miles an hour, but if you can get home at 5-6 miles an hour, you can still make it home and you're not stuck. And I know that a lot of people are going to be concerned about, well, if I go with an electric system, there's electric only system, there's going to be more things that could go wrong. I could get stranded on the road. What happens if, you know, again, if my battery dies, or what if a fuse blows, or, you know, but all of those things can happen with a geared setup too.
Right.
What happens when my chain breaks? What happens if a twig gets caught in my derailleur?
Cable snaps, your brakes are,
You know, I think the lone adventure cyclist traveling around the world, yeah, he may want to test it out a bit closer to home first.
Sure.
But I think we're going to see people very soon going cross country on a system like that, you know, electric only.
You know, if I wasn't too busy working the 9 to 5, I'd go test it. That's how excited I am about this chainless system. I like, you know, and it happens every season. You have to almost relearn the joy of riding here in Utah, at least. Now, we get the snow, the sun comes back up, and it's hard to get back out there and ride. This chainless system, I feel reinvigorated.
Yeah.
I'm excited not only to see the limits of this, but the future of what recumbent triking and biking will be.
Right.
I really feel as though this is the next step.
And I'm really excited to see what becomes. It's only going to get better.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic right now.
Right. It's already really great.
Yeah.
And to know that such an innovative thing exists and is available in the market, I can't wait to see the next evolution of this already massive leap.
Well, and I'm not even waiting for the next release. You know, here's the thing. This is brand new. Neither of us have many miles on this yet. And the miles that I have put on this, fantastic.
Yeah.
I would ride this. You know, this could definitely be, you know, an everyday machine.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that if you're looking for an electric trike anyway, getting an electric trike without the gears might be something that you want to deal with.
And I think you put it better, you know, the fears of an electric system, of everything, you know, what if the battery dies? What if X and Y and Z? Yeah, what if my chain? What if the derailleur cable? What if my brakes? What if they all apply? I do think that this system, as far as our testing goes so far, has been just as bulletproof as a regular chain system. Of course, we'll have to find out when we're teeter-tottering between 0 and 1% on the charge.
Right. All right, guys, we're back at the shop, and you know, this was not a regular comparison video like we do a lot of. We've got two trikes that they nearly feel the same when we're riding. And what this video is really about is the introduction of this all new Pers electric system made by Cixi and Ice, and how fantastic it is. I think.
Well, I know everybody's going to have a lot of questions about these, and hopefully this video helps you. But of course, you can always call, send us an email. Coolest thing is not only are we showing you, you know, the next thing, but these are available now.
You know, Ice actually, they delivered it here. They picked it up. They took it to the Cavendish show, and they brought it back. We've got this unit here, so if you want to come test one out, you know, come to the shop, take it out, because there's really nothing like riding it, and it's crazy. It really is. It's you get on this, and it just does not feel like most motorized trikes do, where the motor is doing the work. It really feels like you're pedaling, and it's going with your pedaling effort.
Phil from Ice used the words breathtaking.
Breathtaking.
And he said, I keep saying breathtaking. This trike is breathtaking. Of course, he's from the UK, but you know, I think that's just their language. But it really is. This trike is breathtaking.
Yeah.
That is the only way to summarize it. It feels fantastic. It rides fantastic, and I think the range will also be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and I'm excited to, you know, have one of the very first steps in the new evolution of cycling, because I really do think that this is the future of cycling. You know, it took us this long to get from gears to internal gears to gears and motors to now we have motor and generator. It's taken us a long time to get there, and I think we're there. This new technology, they hit it out of the park on the first swing, and I think we're only going to see better systems come in the future, but I don't even know what that looks like. This system is fantastic, and I think anybody that gets this now is going to love it. Absolutely.
I wouldn't even know what to improve on.
Yeah,
to begin with.
Really, right. The main concerns, again, that people are going to have are going to be, you know, what happens when the battery dies? You know, and that is a valid concern. It is an electric system. It's an electric only system. So what happens when my battery dies? And right now, that battery is acting like a capacitor in the back, and it's, you know, my feet are charging it. When I'm going downhill, I'm charging it. When I'm plugging it in, I'm charging it. But what happens when it keeps going
You know,
down.
I gotta say, you said about midway point of the video, you dropped it down to 96%.
So we were at
lost
94.
We were
I
at
think.
94.
Yeah.
I kept it in muscular mode, and I kept it in the hardest cadence. We're currently sitting at 95%.
Okay. There you go.
So we gained a percentage
so
somehow.
we gained a percent, or was I at 96? I don't remember now.
Well, either way, you know, we either gained a percent or only lost 1% on our like 20, 30-minute ride.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really it, you know, to leave, go, climb our hill a couple times, come down, and we're back here, and we barely touched the battery.
Stay tuned. There'll be a video. I'll kill it. I'll find out what happens for you guys.
I think that's going to be, you know, one of the next videos is we're going to see how many miles in the dynamite mode can we just waste the battery, you know, and just with as little pedaling effort as possible, how fast can you go and how much of the battery can you use up in one shot? And then from there, what happens, as we start, as that battery starts going down. So that'll be it. But for now, guys, we're happy to introduce this new system along with ICE. And again, if you have any other questions, let us know. And we'll be working on a bunch of new videos showing this system.
Bunch of new videos just upcoming. It'll be a busy season, busy year.
A lot of stuff.
We're excited to ride.
Yep. All right, guys. So, as we like to say, relax, spin fast, ride trikes, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.